Batman wasn't born knowing martial arts. He wasn't born a detective. He wasn't born a strategist. He taught himself everything. The question is, why do some people spend years learning while others master new skills far faster? Batman understood something most people never realize. Learning is a skill in itself. Why do you quit learning after only a few days? Why do some people become masters while others stay beginners forever? What if the greatest skill you could ever build is the ability to teach yourself anything? Today, you're going to learn Batman's complete framework for mastering any skill. Not motivation, not shortcuts. A system. The same system that turned a grieving child in Gotham into the most capable man alive. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the final principle, the one that separates lifelong learners from everyone else. Batman became extraordinary for one reason most people overlook. He never stopped being a student. Every enemy was a lesson, every failure was data, every night was another rep. While others searched for talent, Batman built a machine for acquiring skill. This is the Batman method. Become a permanent student. Batman never believes he knows enough. That single belief is the foundation of everything he becomes. Most people learn a little, feel confident, and stop. Confidence feels good, but confidence without curiosity is a trap. It convinces you that you've arrived, when the truth is, you've barely started. Batman rejects that trap completely. He studies chemistry, he studies psychology, he studies criminology, engineering, languages, combat systems from across the world. Not because he has to, because he refuses to stay the same version of himself. This is humility disguised as power. The strongest minds treat mastery as a horizon, not a destination. You never fully arrive, you only get closer. Ego is the enemy of learning. Ego tells you that asking questions makes you weak. Batman knows the opposite is true. The moment you think you know enough is the moment you stop growing. So the real question is, are you learning like a student or performing like an expert? Because what comes next determines whether that learning actually goes anywhere. Learn with a purpose. Batman never learns randomly. Every skill he acquires serves a mission. He doesn't study fear to sound interesting at a dinner party. He studies fear because he needs to become it. This is intentional learning. Most people consume information the way they scroll a feed. Passive, directionless, forgotten by morning. Batman never learns that way. Before he opens a book, ties his hands for training, or studies a new discipline, he already knows why. Purpose acts like gravity. It pulls scattered information into something usable. Without purpose, knowledge sits idle. With purpose, knowledge becomes a weapon. Ask yourself, why are you learning what you're learning? If you can't answer that in one sentence, your effort is leaking through a hole you haven't noticed. Batman never trains without a target, and neither should you. But purpose alone isn't enough, because knowing why you're learning means nothing if you're practicing the wrong way. Practice deliberately. Batman doesn't repeat mistakes, he studies them. This is the difference between practice and deliberate practice. Most people practice to finish. They repeat an action until it feels familiar, then move on. Batman repeats an action until it becomes precise. Every strike in his training is analyzed. Every failure in the field becomes a case file. He doesn't ask, did it work? He asks, why did it work? Or why didn't it? This is the discipline of correction. Comfort is not the goal. Precision is the goal. Deliberate practice is uncomfortable by design. It targets weakness directly instead of avoiding it. Most people avoid their weak points because weakness feels like failure. Batman runs toward weakness because weakness is where growth is hiding. Feedback is oxygen for mastery. Without it, repetition just cements old mistakes deeper. With it, every rep moves you forward instead of sideways. This is where most people stop improving. They mistake motion for progress, but there's something even more foundational than practice. something that determines whether any of it sticks at all. Train your focus. Learning requires attention, not interest, not enthusiasm. Attention. Batman protects his concentration like a weapon, because that's exactly what it is. In a world built to fracture attention into 1,000 pieces, deep focus has become rare, and rare things become powerful. Batman doesn't multitask his way through mastery. He isolates. He removes distraction the way a surgeon sterilizes a room. Because distraction doesn't just slow learning, it corrupts it. A fractured mind absorbs fragments. A focused mind absorbs understanding. This is why Batman trains alone, in silence, in darkness, not for effect, for efficiency. Deep work compounds. 10 distracted hours will never equal 1 hour of total presence. Most people think they need more time to learn faster. What they actually need is fewer distractions consuming the time they already have. Consistency of focus, not intensity of motivation, is what separates fast learners from frustrated ones. But even total focus will still lead to failure sometimes. And what Batman does next is the reason he never breaks. Embrace failure as feedback. Batman treats failure as information, not identity. Most people take failure personally. One mistake becomes a verdict. I'm not good at this. I'll never master this. That single sentence quietly ends more growth than any real limitation ever could. Batman never allows failure to define him. He interrogates it instead. What went wrong? What signal was missed? What adjustment comes next? This is resilience built through structure, not just willpower. Every setback becomes a lesson written into his method. Every fall becomes data for the next attempt. This is why he keeps evolving while others quit at the first hard wall. Failure isn't the opposite of mastery. It's the raw material mastery is built from. The people who master skills fastest aren't the people who fail less. They're the people who extract more from every failure they have. But even resilience needs structure to survive long term. Because willpower alone always runs out eventually. Build a learning system. Batman doesn't rely on motivation. He relies on systems. Motivation is a spark. It fades the moment conditions get difficult. Systems don't need motivation to function. They run regardless of how you feel that day. Batman trains at set times. He reviews cases on schedule. He studies new disciplines with structured repetition, not sporadic bursts of inspiration. This is why he improves for decades, while others burn out in weeks. A system removes the daily decision of should I train today? The decision is already made. The only variable left is execution. Most people rely on feeling ready. Batman removes the need to feel ready at all. He built an identity where learning simply happens. Daily habits. Structured review. Repeated exposure. This is how fragile motivation becomes permanent capability. And this brings us to the final principle, the one that defines everything Batman becomes. Never stop evolving. The day Batman believes he's finished learning is the day he becomes weaker. This is the emotional core of everything you've just learned. Every principle before this one, curiosity, purpose, deliberate practice, focus, resilience, systems, they all exist to serve one final truth. Mastery isn't a finish line, it's an identity. Batman never says I have arrived, because the villains evolve, the world evolves, and if he stops evolving, he becomes obsolete. This is true for you as well. The skills that matter today will shift. The knowledge that feels advanced now will become outdated. The only stable advantage is the ability to keep learning faster than the world keeps changing. Real mastery means remaining a student forever, not because you lack ability, because growth is the ability. This is the transformation, not becoming someone who knows everything, but becoming someone who can learn anything. Batman's greatest superpower was never his strength. It was never his gadgets. It was his willingness to keep learning when everyone else believed they'd learned enough. Skills fade. Knowledge evolves. The people who continue learning continue growing. Everyone else stays exactly where they are. The moment you stop learning, you stop becoming. Batman never stopped becoming, neither should you. Think about every version of yourself you've ever outgrown. The person who couldn't ride a bike. The person who couldn't read a single word. The person who was terrified to speak in front of a room. Every single one of those people disappeared because you refused to stay them. That is the Batman method, whether you realized it or not. You have already proven, again and again, that you can become someone new. The only difference now is doing it on purpose. Most people wait for a crisis to force growth. A lost job, a broken relationship, a moment of rock bottom. Batman never waits for Gotham to burn before he trains. He trains so that when the fire comes, he's already ready. That's the real separation between amateurs and masters. Amateurs grow when they're forced to. Masters grow on purpose, every single day, whether the world is watching or not. So ask yourself honestly, are you waiting for a reason to start learning again? Or are you willing to build the discipline before you need it? Because the skill you build today in silence is the exact skill that saves you tomorrow, in the moment that matters most. This is not about becoming Batman. It's about becoming the version of yourself that never stops training in the shadows so they can stand in the light when it counts. If today you're committing to becoming a lifelong student, comment these 4 words: I never stop learning. Not for this channel, for yourself, because one new skill can completely change the direction of your life.